Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia and the Eritrean invasion of northern Tigray. So today we continue to monitor what has transpired and the ramifications of what transpired in South Africa in regards to the so-called peace agreement. So we're well over 10 days after the meetings ended in South Africa, and there's no sign that neither party is going along with said agreements that were allegedly discussed in South Africa. Now, the big issue, and continues to be a really a monolithic issue, is a number of factors. First and foremost is the Eritrean army is still present in northern Tigray. The Anaconda strategy is still being implemented upon Tigray. And more importantly, and probably ultimately the deciding factor in any form of a successful outcome in terms of a negotiated settlement to the ongoing conflict, is the breaking of the social contract that occurred by the Eritrean army and Abiy loyalist forces and Amharan regional militias that pillaged the Tigray region during the late 2020 first unsuccessful invasion. So the idea that the Tigrayan Defense Forces would lay down its weapons under those conditions, with the continued threat of the Eritrean army inside of Tigray, Amharan regional militias still inside of Tigray, and the Abiy loyalist forces still in southeastern Tigray and certain parts of western and northern Tigray as well. So again, as we continue to watch what's happening on the ground, the likelihood that whatever was agreed upon in South Africa is unraveling is highly, highly likely. It does not appear, at least on the surface, the Tigrayan Defense Forces are okay with many aspects of what was talked about and in some cases agreed upon in South Africa. And the simple fact that the ask, or the initial ask, was that the Tigrayan Defense Forces hand over its heavy weaponry prior to the eviction of these forces from the Tigray region is simply a non-starter, much less the handover of small arms, which I don't believe would ever happen under any circumstances. Additionally, another factor is now starting to weigh in on what is happening in the Tigray region, and that is the continued success of the Oromo Liberation Army in its ongoing operations in both Western Oromia and the North Shiwa Zone. We have new intel coming in today that the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA units operating in North Shiwa Zone, that's to the north of the capital, Finfane, Addis Ababa, has launched a series of operations north of the capital in which 2 military garrisons were destroyed in that zone. Pardon me, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. There we go. In the western part of Oromia, the routes from Minde all the way east of Nakimte continue to fall under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. The ability of the Abiy loyalist formations, the Abiy loyalist army security forces, to transport itself from Nakimte to Minde outside of using aircraft simply right now is unattainable. They are not able to do that. The OLA has effectively shut down many of the roads running from Mende, Nejo, Gimbi, Nekemte, and further east as well, all the way east in some cases of Ambo. And now again, we're hearing reports of multiple operations currently underway by the Oromo Liberation Army in the North Shiwa Zone. In just one of these pitched battles that have taken place, more than 50 Abiy loyalist forces were KIA'd and a number taken prisoner in this ongoing offensive operation by the Oromo Liberation Army. So as pressure continues to build upon Abiy Ahmed in Western Oromia, North Shiwa Zone, and other areas as well, the likelihood this will alleviate pressure on the Tigray region is almost certain. We continue to see the use of drones, Chinese-made long-range drones, being used against OLA forces. Most of these attacks, some of which with direct tactical Su-27s, MiG-23s, again dropping dumb bombs on towns in Western Oromia, are not very precise. They're just designed to cause terror, and they're more or less retribution strikes by the Abiy Ahmed government against targets in Western Oromia. We'd also seen information, some coming in from other media outlets, YouTube outlets, that had discussed that during the conversations, during the discussions that were taking place in South Africa, was the fact that the Tigrayan Defense Forces had capitulated. That is simply not the case. The Tigrayan Defense Forces have not capitulated in terms of what we are seeing right now on the ground in Tigray. We believe the TDF still has forces in the field numbering 150 to 200,000 personnel. Mekelle is still controlled by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Areas well north of Mekelle and south of Mekelle, all the way to Maichu, are under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Adigrat was never taken by the Eritrean Army. And again, as we have discussed multiple times about Adwa, those forces are finding it very, very difficult, the Eritrean Army, very difficult to either enter or leave Adwa at the present moment. And again, the entire Tenbian region is still under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. A much better position than what we observed at the beginning of 2021, when in fact all these towns had fallen under the control, outside of the Tenbian region, of the Abiy loyalist forces in the Eritrean Army. That hasn't happened this time. So the idea that the Tigrayan Defense Forces were negotiating from a position of weakness, or had in fact capitulated, is simply false. Didn't happen. Has not happened. But that's our report for today. We will continue to monitor and bring you more information as we get it. We are watching things very closely in Oromia. There appears to be a very large OLA offensive underway and ongoing. And many of these operations that are continuing as we speak by the Oromo Liberation Army appear to be very successful. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects what is happening right now in Tigray, and maybe in fact we will see this these talks, this occurrence in South Africa simply unravel, and in all probability will simply fade into the wind. But more to come very, very soon. Thank you for joining us today. As always, have a good day.